Okay. Good morning, all the participants. Good morning, Dr. Suraj Singh. Uh, Hello, participants. Today we have Dr. Suraj Kumar Singh, Associate Professor, Center of Sustainable Development, Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. Uh, he is also one of my friend uh, who is working in Jaipur in the field of, especially in the field of geospatial technology. Earlier joined in Suresh Gyan Vihar University, he worked as an assistant professor in Central University of South Bihar and has done a very excellent work, especially in the field of flood, water logging, climate change. So he is working in this field since last 10 years. And today he will deliver this topic, this lecture on topic geospatial technology in the resource management. So I welcome you, sir, to deliver fruitful lectures to my participants who are just listening all these lectures from 11 June. And because we are running this webinar from 11 June to 25th June, and we call many experts all over from different part of the country, as well as experts who are in belongs to some foreign countries also. So today our panelist is Dr. Deepak Kumar, who is also a co-convener of this webinar. So I also welcome you, Deepak sir.
Thank you,
Uh,
sir.
okay, so today we'll just try to compile all these things in 1 hour. So please, sir, you can start.
Can I start?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. A very good morning to all the participants, and thanks to Dr. Praveen, Dr. Deepak Kumar for arranging such a webinar where the participants can have a real-time interaction with the top scientists of the world, professors, where they can share their experience related to GIS domain, because this is a very few limited number of persons knows about this subject. So it's quite tough to have an interaction with each and every one within 10 to 15 days without spending a single money. You have earned a lot of knowledge, a lot of understanding about the subject, its future prospect, and its application. So today also, I'll not go into the brief detail because the earlier speakers must have told you what are the basics of remote sensing, GIS, GPS that comprises geoinformatics. So I'll start off with an application of remote sensing and GIS in various applications. So I'll share my PPT and show that you can gradually have a interaction or the knowledge how remote sensing and GIS is utilized for resource management. So I'll start my PPT. What is the need of GIS? Why it's important? The first most important thing is to identify the abundance of natural resources. So whatever resources we are talking about, whether that is land resource, water resource, minerals, all are located in inaccessible areas. Many of the resources are still to be explored, and those resources are covered in the hilly terrain, mountainous terrains, where there is no road connectivity, where there is a toughest terrain in the world. So the only thing that can go and that can map is a satellite. That's why GIS technique is the best technology to identify, to map the natural resources. And why identification is important? Identification is important for the management and utilization of natural resources. So whatever resource that we are trying to map, because our population is increasing day by day and the resources are limited in nature. So if we are not going to manage it, we are not going to explore the new resources, we cannot sustain for future. That's why there is a concept of sustainable development. And for that, geoinformatics technique is the best technique for achieving those sustainable development goals. Apart from that, this subject helps you for the identification of exploitation of environment. Means if you want to go for new resources, like I want to have more number of area where I can go for coal exploration or water exploration, I need a site suitability, the exact location, what will be the estimated amount of resource available in that area, what is the expenditure, whether we'll go for any kind of exploitation or exploration. So for all this technology, our decision maker, like if I am a secretary, principal secretary, or I am a district collector, I need a concrete map. That's why for decision making, this subject is very useful for a strategic planning and management of the environment. Now I'll show this how this is applied in various natural resource management. Like if you see that it can be applied for land resource management, means our population is increasing. So I was a part of a team of ISRO where we mapped the entire wasteland of India using multi-temporal 3-season data sets. Entire wasteland was identified, and now you can know which are the areas where the land is unutilized, so that we can come up with some new techniques and we can make those land into productive category, or we can go for some exploration or some decorative work. Like for example, Chambal. Chambal recently they are known as a land of degradation. That is a land degraded. But what I feel is that can be reutilized or utilized as a tourism spot, because that is the rarest spot in the world in India. So whatever wasteland that we are identify, we can convert that wasteland into tourism and finally generate money, so that the socio-economic condition of the people who are living in and around in that area can increase. So that is the way that we can approach using GIS and spatial technology. We can promote ecotourism. We can have different kind of resource inventory, like what is the current resource of agriculture in any area, what is the change in the forest over the decades in India. If you are talking about forest information in India, you need a GIS and satellite image technique. If you are talking about watershed analysis, what is the current runoff in an area, because the rainfall is decreasing day by day. Now whatever rainfall that we are getting daily has to be preserved, and that can be done if you are calculating the entire runoff that we are generating, because that has to be put downward into the underground water, because we are getting 4 months of rainfall and we have to sustain for 12 months. So if you are not utilizing that water that an area is getting, you can face water scarcity problem. As you are reading day by day that in the urban areas there is a problem of water. So that is related to GIS can provide you solution to such kind of watershed management. Then nowadays you must be knowing about the smart city. So where to have a smart city? What does a smart city has a difference from a normal city? If anybody has been to Chandigarh or Rajasthan, and then you compare Chandigarh and Rajasthan with other parts of the country, if you compare yourself with old city of Banaras or Patna, you'll find there is a huge difference. A smart city comprises where is the identification of school, colleges, buildings, residential area, commercial area, industrial area. Each and every pocket, first it will be mapped, it will be identified, and then we'll go for construction. Generally what happens in India, if the government said ki new capital is going to be located in particular XYZ location area, the land in that area, the prices increases and we go for abrupt urbanization, and that leads to the slums in an area. So for maintaining and a clean environment, a planned environment, for urban planning, this subject GIS is very important for creation of the utility services, for mapping. Then if you are going for engineering designing, like for hydropower construction, identification of suitable sites where you can go for dam construction, this subject is very useful, not only for construction of sites, as well as providing the insurance or the compensation amount that the government will be acquiring for construction of dam. So, and where to rehabilitate those persons who were relocated. So this GIS and technology provide the site where the government and the decision makers can have a real budget. What is the amount of cost involved for relocating of, in case there is 1,000 number of persons, how many numbers will get a government job? what is the amount that has to be spent for construction of houses, agricultural land. So all this analysis can be connected with the demographic analysis to provide a real decision support system to the government of India or the government of respectable states. Apart from that, you can also see its application in topographic analysis, then medical GIS, logistic transformation, incident mapping, corridor mapping. Out of this, I'll take two examples and I'll explore you more detail in the coming slides. Like if you're seeing about topographical analysis, how GIS provide you this solution. Right now you have seen that we have got enemy states, we have enemy with Pakistan, we have got enemy state, China is there, then you have got Nepal is also coming up. So all the area where we are trying to target are inaccessible areas and mountainous and hilly area. So until unless you don't have a 3D representation, what is the exact height where the soldiers has to climb, and where is the green zone, blue zone, or you can say I was a part also associated with DRDO, DTRL Delhi, where the government of India are very restricted. So I'll say only the brief and the outer information of those maps. Each and every country is prepared. So in case of a fight, how our military will move, where is the area through which the tanks will move, where is the area through which the artillery will be moved. Each and everything is planned, and only if you have got a permission you can act upon. And for doing such kind of terrain analysis where the tanks and the heavy vehicles and the artillery has to move, until unless you don't have a real time topographical height of that area, you can lead to defeat. So that's why this subject also provide you a very helpful tool for any kind of terrain analysis. Apart from that, you must nowadays laterally died. So if you want to see how the land use, land cover has changed in any particular area where that is a tiger habitat or where there is a elephant corridor mapping, you can have a real-time decision making. You can see how you have disturbed the area in where there is a more kind of a conflict between the animal and human, and this subject can provide you how to have some real kind management for those problems. So geospatial technology is a technique that comprises GPS, GIS and remote sensing. Most of you are familiar with all these things. GPS, each and every person has a mobile. Nowadays you have called Google Earth. The government in India is also saying you to download this Arogya Setu app that is also based on Google, that is location, that is based on GPS. Apart from GIS is a overlay analysis where multiple thematic layers can be overlaid to provide a decision support system to the planners. And finally, remote sensing and GIS, for example, satellite image. Each and every persons know that right now China is building, constructing it. So how did India know? Nobody went to their land, but we knew that they have constructed barracks. They have got 500 number of trucks. How did it happen? It happened because of only satellite images. So in case of a war, your satellite image is the best and primary tool who will decide whether we'll win or we'll lose. That's why this discipline, when we started career 15 years back, nobody was knowing this. But because of recent COVID, where you must, each and every person knows about green zone, red zone, orange zone. That was a concept developed using satellite and GIS discipline. So each and everybody in India now knows about GIS. So if you are a participant who is listening, has got some connection with geography, geology and GIS, so you have taken the correct career, and you will have a huge opportunity in coming days. So I'll start up with some satellite imaging. Here you can see I have provided a satellite image of LEAS 3 2016, where I wanted to show how spatio-temporal satellite images can help in the real-time management of flight dynamics. So anybody will say, "Ki how?" By seeing a satellite image. If my father, who doesn't know about remote sensing and GIS, can easily see that there is a change in color. If I see in July 1 and July 16, the blue color has a spread. Now this what blue color has a spread in which area? So if I want to see in July 1, the entire area was in green in color, and that green in color is a representation of vegetation and agriculture. So I can easily calculate using satellite image what was the area that was immersed in the flood inundated area. So I can first analysis using the satellite picture can be done. How much area the flood has covered, in how much number of days this water has traveled. Thereafter, we can calculate how much damage it has done to the property. It has done to the life. It has done to the agriculture. Because government of India has said that each and every crop has agricultural land must have crop insurance. So this subject nowadays is vitally and readily used for crop insurance. Because for example, if any person comes and say that my field is submerged in land, if a farmer comes, how would the government of India or the administrator can identify whether the farmer who is saying correct or wrong? The only source, he cannot go to the field and verify each and every pocket of the agricultural land. So the only thing that through which he can do is a satellite image where he can see what was the number of packets. Then those things are connected in GIS, where if his 500 hectares of land has been destroyed and government of India has given 10,000 per hectare compensation, so the said amount can be transferred directly to his account using GIS and space borne technology in coordination. So that is the best technique where you can have a real-time difference analysis can be seen for damage assessment. Apart from that, this subject can also, technology can also be used for calculation of forest information system and forest cover change analysis. How? Now you must be knowing that IFS, Indian Forest Services, is a very premier job in India. But nowadays each and every IFS has to do 2 years of compulsory training in GIS. What does it say? It says because, and why they were asked to do compulsory training, because all the resources, if you see the map of India, are widely redistributed and are inaccessible. So if it is inaccessible, you cannot go to that resource. So the only technique through which you can see whether the forest is increasing, decreasing, whether there is a forest cutting or that is natural in danger, or whether you have got some pest infection or there is some forest fires. So all this information can be obtained only using satellite remote sensing. Apart from that, because satellite images had got various kind of resolution that comprises of spatial resolution, spectral resolution, radiometric resolution, temporal resolution. So when it covers to temporal resolution, I can see whether the forest what we had in 1970 is same or it has changed over the area, and if there is a change in any area, what is the change, whether that forest has converted itself into agricultural land or some construction has been done, or what was the change in that forest can be easily seen using satellite remote sensing. Apart from that, because we have got spectral bands that makes you identify various kinds of forest, whether that is a deciduous forest, whether that is a evergreen forest, whether that is a scrubland, plantation, agriculture. Each and every object has got different signatures in a satellite remote sensing. So on the basis of those signatures, in conjugation with field verification, having some limited number of field and with existing literature, we can demarcate the various forest cover of India. That's why whatever forest information map that is published by FSI or FRI has been prepared using GIS and technology. So all the persons who are from forestry, and if you know GIS, you have got a very bright year career in coming years. Apart from that, we must have be many of the engineers would be there, civil engineers or geographers or geologists. So right now I'm seeing you a satellite image of Hazaribagh. I'm from Ranchi, Jharkhand, which is a place which we are having ample amount of resources, whether that is coal resource, any resource. If you're talking about, Jharkhand is the best place to see that. So if you want to see whether the forest or the resource, what is the current scenario and what are the potential sites where we can go for exploration, the satellite remote sensing provide you. So using this satellite, you may see that the dark colors that you're seeing is a coal seam area. The dark blue colors is the reservoir, and the forest is seen in red in color, and next you can see the settlement. So using this satellite remote sensing, you can identify the coal resource, what is the existing and what can be the future potentials where the government of India can go in collaboration with various other technology, like gravity analysis has to be done, then chemical analysis has to be done, and then we can come up what are the areas that are having severe water contamination in any area, so how to rehabilitate them. All this subject and the land use, land cover characteristics in a real time can be prepared using satellite remote sensing. So on the right hand side, you can see that this is a classified image prepared from the least 3 satellite image, where each and every parcel of the land can be easily identified and mapped for the future development of any resource. This is a map, or you must be knowing SRTM. If the students are from remote sensing and GIS, you must be listening Cartosat, you must be listening Aster GDM. So what is that? That is digital elevation model. What does digital elevation model have? Digital elevation model has a height. Now, earlier also I said we have got right now the situation is very tense with India and China. So we have to move our tanks in case of a war. We have to move our artilleries in case of a war. So to have a real representation of that terrain, prior to any attack, the disaster preparedness plan has to be prepared. For preparation of any such kind of war, all this analysis for any kind of flood or hydropower or for landslides, this digital elevation provide you the real representation of the earth without going into that area. By seeing in your laptop, you can have a real representation and you can measure that area. Apart from that, each and every persons nowadays, you must be seeing and listening that the climate is changing, glaciers are melting. So I'll say that please go to the glaciers and map the entire glaciers, or go to that any area and entire map the forest. No, nobody can go and map the glaciers because that is inaccessible and you cannot map through any surveying instruments, any technique. The only technique through which you can see that whether the forest that was in 1780 and what is in 2020 and what it is going to happen in 2030 can only be done using satellite remote sensing because of its temporal coverage. We have got satellite series available from 1971. We have got the entire series, and prior to that we had various topographical map that was surveyed in 1950 and 60. Prior to that we have got army map services prepared by US Army that was surveyed and mapped in 1925. And prior to that, we have got various historical topographical maps where we will be seeing where the glacier was located. If you see this current image, you can see that what is the position of snot, whether the position is the remaining the same or it's decreasing. So anybody, my father can also see and he can say that, yeah, I can see the change, there is a shrinkage in that area. So that relates yourself to the retreat. That means ki the glacier area has decreasing, and when it's decreasing, that will result in us that can disturb the entire water system in India. So this technology provide you real representation of the earth. If you see on the right hand side, I cannot go into the field. If I say send someone to a particular location, he cannot see the entire landscape. But the satellite remote sensing, you can see 1,000 kilometers of area, and here you can see lower Shivaliks, then Himalayas, upper Himalayas, glaciers, various river system, various land cover characteristics. So a large area and information can be gathered using satellite remote sensing, and depending on its spatial resolution, we can have different kinds of classification. If you are going for urban classification, you can go up to level 4. Then that I'll be discussing in my coming slides. So this subject can also be used for identification of forest fire areas, then risk areas, and where is the area which are highly susceptible or at a high risk in any area. So this satellite images can provide you how much area of land has been burned because of any forest fire, and what we can create a simulation model using satellite remote sensing, where you can have a real representation of how this fire is going to spread, what is the wind direction, what is the height. All these parameters are taken into consideration, and then we can provide the information to the firefighters before 10 hours, that after 10 hours this area is likely to be get affected by forest fire. So all the people, because we cannot stop it, we can try to stop it using various practices. It can be scientific, it can be natural. But the most important thing is to reduce the number of life. So if you have got any information early warning system, you can reduce the number of line, as well as you can come up various management practices that can stop the spread. So GIS technology provide you simulation based study where you can have such kind of analysis. Apart from this, you see this is a very high spatial satellite images. So when you're talking about very high spatial satellite images of 0.5 meter, that can be used for urban information system. So urban information system comprises the entire smart city. If you are talking about smart city, you have to prepare urban information system. And for creation of that, we need a high satellite images. So if you see this satellite image, we can easily identify what is the length of the road without going into the field. I can map the length of the road. I can see what are the areas which are residential, commercial, industrial. Even we can see the swimming pools of the hotels. So all kind of this kind of analysis for upcoming projects in India can be taken up, and we can have a very smart, good city like Chandigarh or Jaipur in various parts of the country using satellite remote sensing. Apart from this, nowadays this satellite remote sensing is also used for creation of land information system. Previously, if you are not so much connected with the agricultural background, I am from agricultural background. So if I want to know information to go to that Patwari, that was a hand map, but that had a lot of flows. But what the GIS has done using high satellite remote sensing, this cadastral map, which was a representation in a case of it was a kind of a diagram, but with the help of a high resolution satellite image, each and every parcel of the land has been digitized, and that has been connected with the landowner. And nowadays, if you go to Rajasthan government, or you go to Madhya Pradesh government space application center sites, this entire information system has been linked and created using WebGIS, and its portal is available. So now no need of going to any patwari physically. If you want to purchase any land, I am a investor, I want to have the investment information key, how much investment, how much land I have to pay. So I no need of going to Patwari. I can see the entire landscape, how this land has been transferred, in whose name this land has been registered. Because in many places there are fraudism, where the same parcel of land is resold to 3-4 number of persons, and then you have got a court in cases. So such kind of disputes can be reduced using land information, where we will be having this entire information, and any person using that login password can see his land records through digitization. So this is the entire land information system created using satellite remote sensing. Now I'll come up with the latest study that has been published of mine in Zeocarto International related to COVID-19. So nowadays each and every person's we are having this webinar because you have got a COVID-19. Until if we didn't have a COVID-19, I or you won't have had a chance to have an interaction with both. So our Prime Minister is also saying that this is an opportunity. So when he says that this is an opportunity, and we as a scientists and professors has the prime responsibility for building the society for creation of model. So when this COVID-19 came, then I started talking. My entire research team had a go. We must contribute to the society, so that right now, if you see that each and every person, when there was a COVID-19, we have got no solution, no medication. So if you have got no medication, so the only thing through which you can have this uh, reduce in number of cases is through physical distancing, and through physical distancing you can reduce the case. So I thought how I can use my subject remote sensing and GIS for the reduce of life, because that will be the biggest advantage and the biggest achievement for me, because we were searching for the database what it had happened in 1918 or 1920. In the same way, if right now we are talking about 2020, but again this such kind of infectious diseases will be coming after 200 years, 100 years. I won't be there, but my thought would be there. So I wanted my name to be convexed in the literature, in the researcher, so that after 200 years, if my upbringings will be there, they'll show us that my dada or my father had such a beautiful study in 2020, that the same model can be implemented today, or he has done some good for the mankind. So it's my request for all the young researchers to not only have a degree for a job, because generally in India nowadays it is only related to job. But for me, this subject is not only related for job, for bread and butter. It is for my research. It is for my scientific thought. It is for the development of the society. So using this high resolution world view satellite images, we created the entire land use, land cover category, and that landscape, this world view has a 0.5 spatial resolution, where the entire residential, commercial, industrial, community means each and every information up to level 4 we classified the entire landscape. And apart from that, you must be hearing ki hotspot. So this zonation concept was given by our research team to the government of India and ICMR. So right now, whatever study that I'll be showing you will be a part adopted by government, which but it's slightly different from what government has implemented. So the first case was to identification of a hotspot. So how to identify a hotspot? A hotspot is an area set where we have been located as positive COVID cases. A person who is affected and has been confirmed with a positive COVID-19, that spatial location is known as hotspot. Now, how to minimize it? So we created various questionnaire whether this disease is related to some length, distance, related to some land use, land cover. So all these questionnaires was developed and we redistributed, and we had a sample online surveying was done with various doctors, engineers, district collectors, epidemiologists, and then we came to a conclusion that will create a buffer. Buffer is the most important and strong tool of GIS, where you can identify an area which is beneath the your area of interest and which is beyond the area of interest. Like if I'm saying that there should be no houses near a thermal power of 500 meters. So if I go into the field and I say calculate 500 meters, it's quite tough. But when I see through a satellite image and I calculate the buffer, I can see how many number of houses are there and where we have to relocate them. In the same way, we have created a aerial distance buffer of 350 meters, 700 meters, 1050 meters and 1400 meters. Means as you move away from positive COVID-19 patient, your chances of being positive reduces, and it will be very high as you are closer to that area. So such kind of analysis was done using buffer tool of GIS. Secondly, each and every persons are talking about what we have to do sampling. So how to do sampling? We provided that technique. We said if you are into a red zone, 70% of the portion has to be sampled. If you are into an orange zone, 50% has to be sampled. If you are into the blue zone, 30% has to be sampled. If you are into green zone, 20% of the sample has to be sampled. Because what initially we said, we should not go for any kind of migration. Our model says that we should not go for any kind of migration. That I'll be discussing more detail in the coming slide. Apart from this, there was fight in Rajasthan as well as other parts of the country that the COVID-19 patients are relocated to 10 or 20 kilometers. So we thought we must provide a decision support system where if there is a COVID-19 patient, which is the nearest selection site where he can go for isolation or quarantine. So GIS provide you the best solution for identification of this site using network analysis in GIS. Through that, we identified the various government hospitals, hotels, lodges, private hospitals, schools, stadium for providing the isolation and quarantine centers to the government of India and Rajasthan. Apart from that, our model has the best solution where we want that this red area has to be reduced and gradually converted into orange, blue and green. But what has happened because of the migration, what the marginal workers did during COVID-19 was not unacceptable. Our model is quietly different from what government of India has. We said create a nationalized portal, have a database of those personal marginal workers in that database, and the persons who are staying in the blue and green zone can work, those marginal workers can work in that area so that this disease doesn't spread outwards. What has happened if you make them spreading outwards, the entire this blue and green zone will be converted into red zone. So the kind of area of interest, if it is small, you can manage it. But if you go on spreading, it will be beyond your control. And that is happening right now in India. You can see that after lockdown 3 and 4, the number of patients and the area which were in the green zone are gradually converted themselves into red zone. This is because of migration. And our model says no need of migration. Apart from this, remote sensing and GIS a technique provide you the real representation where we can go for real time of killer approach, where you can block each and every roads pickets so that this red zone doesn't move outwards, spread outwards, and gradually the entire footing lodging to that area. So on the basis of that, we created a recommendation. Now the recommendation when we were preparing, I thought generally in India many persons are not having a sound knowledge about the subject, so a technical hand. So we whatever recommendation that we are making must be very easy and understanding so that the farmer or my father or my mother can read and can understand what facilities I'm supposed to get during and post lockdown and what not. So against that, my mind was when I'm going to purchase any model, I've got various parameters written into that, and they have got a design LDI, VDI, LXI. And if I say, they'll say whether airbags are allowed or not. So on that context, we created this entire commodities where mapped on one row and on the other, we created those risk zones. And then we said, what are the facilities that can be done using lockdown 1, 2, and 3. So our model is very different from the government models, and it says that you can work in your blue and green zone. And we have said in the red zone, nobody is allowed to move. and all the daily activities or the utensils or the shops will be provided by Government of India door to door, so that this disease doesn't spread outwards. And gradually, if you follow this all restriction against what we have suggested, gradually this orange and red zone will be converted into blue and gradually into a green zone. Apart from that, we have taken various studies related to COVID-19. So many of the papers what our research group has prepared is under review. So I cannot disclose the entire thing, but I am showing you some of the portion of the highlights that our university and my research team is doing. This is a spatio-temporal map that we are preparing from day 1 to day end, district wise, block level wise, ward level wise, where you can see that how there is a change in the number of patients in COVID-19, how the various or my management as a decision maker, if I am a decision maker, I can see whether my decisions, what we have created or taken over the lockdowns has resulted in a positive framework or that has gone into negative. So if you compare this all maps of the different dates of Rajasthan, you can say that all the decisions that we took is insufficient in the field, because the districts which were prior into blue and green zone are gradually converted into red zone, and that directly suggests your number of cases is increasing. If your number of cases is increasing, and so your number of deaths will also increase. So our recommendation or the model what we suggested says that that can reduce the number of lives. Apart from that, we have created a database where the secondary data related to all the parameters were joined with the primary data of the satellite images, and we have provided block wise, ward wise information to the government of Rajasthan, which is the wards which are most likely to be affected by this COVID-19 disease. For example, right now, if I take a study that maybe the slums are not affected, but you have seen the havoc that it has created in Maharashtra. In the same way, in Jaipur also, we have got various places where the infrastructure is not so well arranged. So we have to provide special restriction, special attention to those areas, even if we don't have a COVID-19 patient. So such kind of analysis is very important to decision makers, so that we can come up with a solution so the number of patients doesn't increase too high. Because if our 50% of the population is affected, our population is very large, and if you compare with 50% and you take 3% of the total population, you can see a large number of that can happen in near future if you are not obeying the government of state government orders, the central government orders, and this migrations should be stopped. And well, please, migration has to be stopped. And secondly, it's my request to each and every individual to please download those Arogya Setu given by Government of India, because that is the best technique through which identification of positive COVID-19 cases can be done. Physically, it's quite tough to identify. So please download it, so that it's just kind of a tracker. If you go in the morning and you're just jogging it and you're transferring it into your database, you see where the areas you have gone through. In the same way, what happens for in Arogya Setu, your Google data is attached to that, and you have got GSM, and there is a database connected to that with your spatial location. So in case you have got a positive early reported, so those locations will be shared in that national portal, and an automated message will be spread that please reduce the number of persons, because if we are not going a message and I'm into a contact with a positive person, and so I'll contact or contaminate more number of person. So if you're downloading this app, because you'll get a message on time, you can restrict, and the number of patients that you can increase can reduce. So it's my request that please stay at home, please go obey the orders of central government and download this app. And with this, I come to end of my presentation. Uh, in case there is any question, the session is open for question and answer round. Dr. Praveen, please.
Thank you, Dr. Suraj, for such a nice presentation. So now I am having some couple of questions for you that is being asked by participants. So first question is related to migration. That what are the method that we can use for migration analysis or migration studies?
What my study and what we have suggested to the government of India, but that was tough for the government also. We suggested to create a national database, have the record according to their specialization, and you can resend or redirect the fund of Narega to the urban area. What has happened? The portion who were registered into the government directory, they got the fund, but the major people who were staying in the urban areas were not registered in the government directory. So in case the government has released the fund, they were not the beneficiaries. So they were bound to move to go to the for their daily wages and for money to their rural area. So we said you redirect the fund, you have a national database, and then those funds can be transferred to that area, so that if I'm getting money to eat, if I am getting money in my account, nobody will migrate from its original location to any rural area. So you have seen in various television that each Maharashtra government yesterday it was saying that 1,700,000 persons are returning back from Bihar, UP. I was knowing that. So what has happened? You have a green zone, you have put that area into a red zone, and again you're returning back. And the kind of infrastructure, if you talk about UP, Bihar, it's not so good. You cannot have the testing in those areas. So you have made those people who were very safe, vulnerable to this kind of COVID-19 disease. So that is a I'll say, kind of a mismanagement, putting them somewhere, again making them back. So you have came up with multiple fronts. Like if you have got a war right now, each and everybody is saying, Nepal is also saying, I will also fought. Pakistan is also saying, I will fought. So we have got multiple fronts. So you have to, that is quite tough to handle if they attack all together at a time. So same thing happened with the COVID-19 also. So if this migration would have been stopped, so your area of interest would be less.
Yes,
that is my submission.
Yes. And one more question is related to your own home topic, that is natural resource. So some person want to know that how we can utilize this technology for natural resource management. Already you have comprehensively covered this thing, but at last would you like to summarize something on that?
I'll say with an example of COVID. I have seen it, shown you the real-time health analysis,
yes.
How it can be done. The biggest advantage, you say any subject, if you think right now, whether that is a water, land, air, temperature, whatever you comes to your mind. Recently, I have seen a PhD application in RIMS. That is a medical institute. So somebody asked me how this GIS technology can be applied in medical science. I say you have to go for operation. So their digital image processing techniques is applied, where if you want to get operated, what is the specific site where there is a problem. Right now, if you go for any kind of treatment, you didn't have to open the entire brain of his. I can have, if there is a tumor in this area, no need of cutting the entire area. I can have an entire instrument and the specific area of interest where there is a problem, we can have an imaging and we can target that area. So it can apply in medical science too. So whatever comes to your mind, you just have this application. This is a technology, but that is any kind of disaster. Right now, you're seeing that in case of a cyclone, we are very good in having an early warning system where the loss of lives has been reduced, and that is all because of geostationary satellite that has predicted, and we are saving the lives.
That is true. Thank you, Dr. Suraj, for such a nice and very alarming this thing, that presentation. I hope that all this participant might have get acquainted with all this technology, and they will try to do something for their nation and something to the society. So now over to Dr. Roy for final concluding remark.
Yes, just I want to say regarding one question, tracking an analysis of any disease. So we have one lecture of Professor Nitin Tripathi on 24. So he will discuss on these things, how the technology, how the online technology is useful for tracking of any disease, either it is a COVID or it is some other diseases. So nowadays, online technology or advanced learning technology is very helpful for tracking of any kind of vector disease as well as this pandemics. So I am very thankful, Dr. Suraj Singh sir, to deliver very nice lecture on various application of geospatial technology. You have touched the application of geospatial technology for flood, land information system, planning, and also this disease also. So you have touched more or less many aspects in which we are using remote sensing GIS technology as well as GPS technology. So I am very thankful to you. And also I thanks on behalf of Amity Institute of Geoinformatics and Remote Sensing, on behalf of Amity University, you accept my invitation, my request to deliver this lecture. And I hope in future you will again accept my request as well as request of my university to give this kind of lectures for my student as well as for the faculties also. Many thanks to
Okay.
you. Thanks, Dr. Deepak, to just
Thank you.
I
join
have
as a
2 minutes,
panelist.
2 minutes,
Many
2 minutes. I want 2 minutes. I want
Yes,
2 minutes.
yes.
I want 2 minutes. And that is for my students who are listening. All the students, please have a real knowledge, in-depth knowledge about GIS and remote sensing. Don't have a superficial knowledge, because this is a technique that is my teacher told me in 19 when I started my career. When Rajiv Gandhi introduced computer in India, there was a Bharat Bandh called, because they said they will reduce the number of jobs in India. So that is quite strange if you listen right now. In the same way, the coming era is related to GIS, remote sensing, and GPS technology. So if you equip yourself before time and have an in-depth knowledge, sky is the limit. So my suggestion to all the students will be to have a real-time cases. You take case study into references, do some research that is for societal benefit, not for job. And all the best for all the students for their bright and upcoming career. Stay at home, download Arogya Setu app, that is very good, that can save your life and save the life of others. Stay at home, be safe. Thanks for listening me. And thanks to Amity University organizers, especially Dr. Praveen, Dr. Deepak, for taking such a pain and arranging large number of speakers from across, not only in India, from the world, and bringing the entire knowledge, their expertise to you guys. You are at home and you are just having a knowledge bunk into your mind. So take that into positive aspect and start doing research. Have some name and fame, and with name and fame, the money is attached to that. So thanks to listening.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Good day.